Hey everybody, Vito Bruno, Boston Winery, tuning in. I was showing a condo yesterday. For those of you who do not know, I double as a real estate agent. I was showing a condo yesterday, met a really great person, Jess O from Gibson Sotheby's. Thank you for the inspiration. We were going through this condo, brand new construction, and it had a wine fridge in it. And she almost offended me. She didn't know my association with the winery, so I'll let her slide. But long story short, she saw a wine fridge and she said, well, I don't use these. I don't have a use for them. I bought a condo. I don't use it. I don't drink much white wine. Why do I need a wine fridge? And to that, I would say wine fridges, and this might be controversial to some, wine fridges are more so for red wines. It's not controversial at all. One, we drink our red wines too warm. We drink our white wines too cold too. And that's something we can get into. Let's go over it now. So we drink our white wines too cold, and the reason we drink them too cold is because they're refreshing. Oh, a nice cold glass of white wine, summer's day, it's hot out, you just did some yard work, you want to refresh, whatever. Here's the problem: when you drink your wines too cold, you actually hide some of the flavor in it. So if you go to a bar, and we can't go to a bar now, but when you go to a bar, when you're looking forward to it, and you get a really cold glass of Pinot Grigio, sometimes that's done intentionally where the wine's very, very cold because they're hiding the impurities. You can mask specific flavors by getting that wine really, really cold. And the opposite with reds, we drink them a little bit too warm. Sometimes you actually promote some more acids and some malacids, some bad acids, by drinking those wines too warm. And that's where a wine fridge comes in on the temperature of the red wine, but also on the preservation of that red wine. So here at the winery, we do a ton of our own aging. But we don't produce a lot of wines, right? So we produce, let's say, 30 wines, but our production's very, very nominal, a lot of them. So some we might do 4 barrels, which is about 100 cases. Some we might do 6, which is 150 cases, but that's really not a lot. So we do tend to sell our wines no later than 3 to 5 years, which is really the beginning of some of these wines' consumption lifetime. Wow, that came out well. So when I mean that, when I say that, what I mean when I say that is you don't necessarily want to drink your wines before 3 to 5 years, depending on the varietal. So Cabs, Super Tuscans, Cab Franc, Zinfandel, Petit Syrah, your bigger varietals. You know a bigger varietal when you look at the color, and it's very, very dark, bold. You can barely see through it. That means that grape skin was thicker to the juice ratio, which means it has more tannins, acids, and alcohol more often than not. Tannins are that natural preservative in red wines. That's what has the resveratrol. It's good for your heart. That is what will help that wine during aging. It's also something that you want to lower the content of during the aging process, that and acids. So you know a wine can stand up to aging when it's bigger in color, it's darker. Any ruby around the outside of the rim of the glass opposed to browning. Browning would be that the wine is getting older in age. Ruby red signifies that it's a young wine. And when I say young, think of wine in like dog years. So Pinot Noir, it can be 3 years old and have some browning, whereas Zinfandel can be 3 years old and be completely ruby red. So it's not years, it's relative to that specific wine. It's very important to keep your wines temperature controlled when you are aging them. So the wine fridge is super, super important for that reason. So if you want to come to a place like the winery, grab a couple bottles of your favorite wines and try aging them. We have a lot of people that do this. They'll pick up, cases of our Super Tuscan because they love it. A few guys out of all graduated out of the same class as Stonehill. They grab a barrel every year, and they'll actually come in and they'll trade older vintages, right? If someone got very excited and drank all their 2020, what they'll do is they'll swap some 2020s for some 2021s, and they have some fun doing that. But you can do that. You can age your own wines, even if it's a wine you get from the liquor store. And more often than not, those wines aren't meant to be aged. If you buy a wine from a liquor store, the wine producer is pretty much telling you, hey, we put these out because they're ready to be consumed. But you can also try this with wines that you buy at a liquor store. Buy a couple bottles, put one away. If you want, take notes on the wines that you're sampling right there and then compare it to the wine after you've aged it 6 months to a year. And that's where I really find that wine fridges come into their most important use, is their preservation of the wines during aging. All of the racks are slatted sideways. And the reason for that is you're keeping that cork wet by keeping that bottle on its side, which is actually keeping that wine from getting exposure to oxygen. And that's the idea about keeping your wines either face down or on its side. Obviously, it's a screw cap, it doesn't matter. But cork needs to either be wet continuously through the bottle being stored down or on its side. If you put it on its side, just rotate it every once in a blue moon. That's why wine fridges are important. Just, next time you see a wine fridge, now you can give somebody the lecture on why wine fridge is key to have. It's not only for white wines, it's actually mostly used for reds. Keep enjoying, guys. We'll see you soon.